My fellow Americans, yesterday, President Obama made some remarks regarding the chaos that we are facing as a nation. Before I address those comments, I thought it'd be important to first address the law enforcement members of our community that have lost their lives and made the ultimate sacrifice for their communities and for the American people. Some of those law enforcement members, as we speak, are fighting for their lives. Let's bow our head in prayer. Now, to the business owners that have lost everything as a result of the riots over the past week. Yes, you did build it, and yes, you will build it again. It is the grit, the drive, desire, and the determination that inspired you to build that business in the first place that will allow you to reinvigorate your business once again. You will rebuild it, and it will be better and stronger than it had ever been before. Yes, you can rebuild those businesses, and yes, you will. Don't get discouraged. It is the grit of the American people that allows us to overcome these challenges. President Obama recommends that if we had simply implemented his task force on policing, that we wouldn't have these problems. If we had just implemented his 21st century policing strategy, that George Floyd would be alive today. Well, my fellow Americans, I'm here to tell you today that President Obama is wrong. It's going to take a lot more than police playing nice and creating a Facebook account to resolve the police brutality in America. President Obama feels as though that the scars that birthed our nation, slavery and institutional racism and Jim Crow, are too daunting of challenges for us to overcome as the American people, and that we must simply learn to recognize these injustices and live with them. That is not the message of forming a more perfect union. We have got to break the shackles of a slavery mentality in the black community. We have got to break the shackles that says that because you are a person of color that you are somehow doomed in your destiny. That somehow because you're a person of color that you can't make it in America. I'm here to tell you today that once we accept personal responsibility for our future, yes, we can determine our own destiny. I've made mistakes in my life. I've been arrested as a black man in America. I am alive today to tell the story because I took personal responsibility in those moments to be respectful of law enforcement. I lived through those moments because I did not resist arrest, because I had respect for law enforcement. The way forward in America is to reestablish law and order. There are entire sections of urban communities in Baltimore and in Chicago and Detroit that are simply lawless. The way forward for America is for the robust police presence to be reestablished in those communities. We have got to create space for the economies to flourish. Those economies are not going to flourish if there is more crime than police. Nobody's going to open a business in Cherry Hill in West Baltimore if there is bombed out buildings and drug lords that dominate the community. Creating a Facebook account and establishing more friendly relations with criminals is not going to fix those communities. Yes, we do need mobile command centers. Yes, we do need surveillance and informants that can help us identify the warlords and the drug lords that are dominating these communities. We have got to reestablish that the rule of law is more important than playing nice with criminals. George Floyd was tragically murdered. What we have failed to recognize over the course of this crisis is that George Floyd made some bad choices. George Floyd had a history of making. President Obama's 21st century strategy would not have changed the choices that George Floyd made in his life. What we need to do is inspire our youth to take ownership of their communities. President Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." It is time for our youth to take ownership of their future. We can make investments in those programs for youth, like the Civil Air Patrol, like the Sea Cadets, like the Young Marines, like JROTC, and Junior Achievement, that will inspire our youth at an early age for the purpose of duty and service to your country. We can inspire our youth at an early age not to just become entertainers or rappers or ball players. We can inspire our youth to become police officers, to join the military, to create generational wealth by starting a business. Those are the programs that we should be implementing in our community. It is time for us to take our communities back. It is time to strengthen the black family. President Obama, we need to encourage marriage in the black community. We need to discourage abortions in the black community. We need to discourage drugs in the black community. We need to re-inspire our youth to come back to church. Yes, we can, President Obama. Yes, we can overcome these challenges. These challenges that are not bigger than America. America is a special place of the land of the free and the home of the brave. If you are privileged enough to be born in America, there is nothing that can stop you from overcoming your dreams. The way forward is to re-inspire our communities and reinvent our communities. Simply writing off entire sections of our community that are lawless because of drugs and crime is not going to solve the problem. We have got to reestablish law and order. We've got to make investments through opportunity zones. We've got to get vouchers in those communities to get better schools. We cannot accept the status quo. By reforming our education system, by investing in youth programs like the Sea Cadets, the Civil Air Patrol, the Young Marines, JROTC, and Junior Achievement, we can inspire our youth to take ownership of their future. President Obama, you are wrong. America's best days are not behind us. America's best days are ahead of us. And while the events of the past week have been challenging, there is nothing that the American people can't overcome. My fellow Americans, thank you for allowing me to respond to President Obama. I encourage you to get out and vote and stop voting for the same people that create the environments of despair. If you continue to perform the same actions over and over again, expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. Stop voting for Democrats that cut the police budget, that don't invest in communities. Help me. Let's make America great again. We can do it. Thank you. And God bless America.